Hey friend, are you putting off that design portfolio again? Knowing that the longer it takes you to do it, the longer it's going to take for you to get a job? Well, what if I told you it could be done by tomorrow? And not only that, but the longer it takes you to get hired, the better your portfolio is going to become. Well, that's the topic of today's video. I'm going to show you how I completed my portfolio within a day instead of months, as well as what I did after to ensure that I took full advantage of the time I had left over. This process ended up landing me 3 job offers, so I'd say it worked out pretty well for me. So my process is a cycle of ideations that build upon each other with the end goal of being hired by getting to an interview. And for the purposes of this process, I'm going to assume that your end user is a hiring manager or a recruiter or design manager, and that you already have a resume and some work to show. If you have all that, then you're all set to make a portfolio. But where do you start? I found the best place to start is essentially to figure out the things that are necessary just to show someone your work. I found the things that are really essential are a place to show your work or host your work, a project, at least one project, and then also a landing page or somewhere to place people after they come from your resume or from an external link, just to orient them so they know where they are, who you are, and what they're expected to do here. So you have to consider your hosting or where you want your portfolio to live. If you want it to be easier to build, I would go with a no-code option like Webflow or Squarespace. If you want to have something that takes more time to build, but you have a lot more control over, then I would go with something custom like your own code. I opted for a in-between kind of. I used Webflow, but I also injected my own code into it. This allowed me to build quickly, but also allowed me to have a lot more control over the website in general. So at this stage, you're considering your project. I would consider adding something that is either my best work or something I could really speak to, just in case I luckily land an interview tomorrow. I would choose also to start small, so have a thumbnail or a really great introductory image that shows the product at the end stage, and then a little blurb about it, just to start off with. Next, I knew I needed a landing page, and for this I decided you should keep it pretty simple. Have your name and have your work right on that page. This is really just meant to orient people when they come in from a resume or they come from your portfolio or elsewhere, just so they know where they are. The last part of this is just to build it. So if you're in Webflow, start building things out. Don't worry so much about classes. If you're in Figma, again, just build things out. Don't worry so much about naming your layers or grouping things and naming them or auto layout. Right now, you're just trying to build it as quickly as possible to keep that momentum going. Okay, you're done now. You have your portfolio, sort of, like you have a start. The thing now is to hook it into some kind of platform where you can track metrics and understand performance. Why you want to track metrics is so that you need to know what things to change in your portfolio. At this stage, you kind of have an idea of what you need to add or take away because it's so little on your portfolio. You just have one project and your name, maybe a photo of yourself. So there's some things you can add to it, but it's really important at this stage to at least get the metrics hooked up so that when you do add something, you're able to track the effects of whatever you added. And I'm not a statistician or a data scientist, so I just used Google Analytics. It's free. I kind of understood how to use it. I really just needed to see things like how many visitors I had. I need to see screen time, what pages were visited, just those kind of things to help me make a educated guess on what users were doing in order to edit my website to be even better than it was at that point. So now you've got your metrics monitoring system set up, and at this point you just need users or recruiters or design managers to get to your portfolio so you can start seeing what they're doing once they get there. The best way I found to do it is to go to LinkedIn and just apply to jobs. That seemed to work for me. I got a lot of traffic off the bat, so I would advise you to do that. If you have other ways of driving traffic to your portfolio, whatever way you can, just so you can start pulling in data. It's not going to be the most insightful, but you want to have that set up and that pipeline going early on, so when you start making the iterations, then you have something to work with. At this point, the next step is up to you. I fleshed out my content a bit more for that one project I had on the page, so people have more to look at. I also chose to add an About Me page, like an info page, and did a bit of styling around the portfolio. Then I left it alone. I just let it sit and build up that data so that I could see what people were doing once I added the About Me page, so I could see how they were reacting to whatever creative styling I had on there. After that, I looked at the data, made another list of iterations I should do based on that data, and then implemented them. One example of that is my About Me page. Nobody really went on it, nobody really cared, so I decided, okay, I'm gonna leave that page alone. I'm not gonna really do anything on that one because it doesn't seem that people are really interested. I'm gonna take my time over to doing more design projects, and that's where I decided to invest more time in. Again, after doing that work on those design projects, waited a while, gathered more data, more insights, and that process just kind of repeats. At this point, you're just making changes, waiting on data, getting your insights, and then making changes again, getting some data, getting your insights, making changes. That's kind of the whole process of this. It took me about a month of this kind of iterative loop to get to a point where I'm like, okay, my portfolio looks great. It's built on user data, and I know that it's something they actually are enjoying because I have the data to back it up. So that's my process for creating a portfolio pretty quickly. This process landed me 3 different offers, so I think it works pretty well. The upside to it is you get something done pretty quickly, and then the longer you're not being hired, the better your portfolio should be becoming, in turn increasing your chances of getting hired. So I think it's a win-win. Let me know in the comments if you have any tips or tricks for other people building portfolio, if you found this helpful. And yeah, thanks for listening.